The stars were quiet. For hundreds of years, nothing had moved near the edge of the old human territories. Earth was silent. Its colonies were gone. The Galactic Union had long removed Earth from their maps. It was labeled extinct, a forgotten, a blue world that once dared to reach the stars and failed. But now, something had changed. At the edge of Sector 9, far from the busy trade routes, a small alien listening post floated beside a dying star. It was meant to monitor deep space noise pulse, our static and dead signals from long-lost civilizations. Nothing important ever came through. The crew on board, a mix of species, were used to boredom. That morning, however, the sensors screamed. A deep pulse hit the system. It was not natural, not a wave from a collapsing star, not a burst from black hole activity. It was clean, digital, controlled, a signal, source, Terran system, said the station's AI origin, Earth. The command officer, a tall insectoid named Vorik, stared at the screen. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Earth is dead." Another crew member, a pale-skinned being named Solon, checked the signal code. "No. ... It's worse than impossible. This signal is new, just sent 4 hours ago." They played it. The message was short, only 6 seconds long. No voice, no language, just a strange, rising tone like a warning alarm, but deeper, and behind it, a pulse, a heartbeat, and then one line of text appeared on their screen. "Not follow." Solon leaned forward. "Could be a trap," she said. Vorek shook his head. "Or a survivor." He turned to the nav system, traced the origin. "I want to know if this came from the surface of Earth." The AI processed the signal. After 30 seconds, it returned an answer. Signal origin, unknown. Masked behind quantum interference. Possible artificial distortion. Source, intersolar. System. The crew exchanged nervous looks. Only one race had ever been capable of that level of masking. Humans, and they were gone. 3 hours later, the Galactic Union Council received the report. Most officials ignored it. Earth had been wiped out during the collapse wars. Everyone knew that. Some thought it was just an echo from an old satellite. Others said it was a hoax, but not all of them ignored it. A small research vessel named the Distant Light was granted permission to investigate. Its crew of 6 included linguists, historians, and an ex-military pilot who had studied Earth's last transmissions. As the ship prepared to jump, Captain Alora, soft-spoken, bird-like aliens, poked to his crew. "If this is real, then everything we thought we knew was wrong. Be ready for anything." The jump took less than an hour. But when the Distant Light emerged near Earth's old star system, they found something strange. The solar system was ... wrong. Jupiter was still there. Its storms calm and golden. But Saturn's rings were missing. Gave off strange signals from its surface, like metal whispering to metal on Earth. Earth wasn't where it should be. In its place was a cloud of white mist, floating, silent, perfectly round. Could not see through it. As they approached, the ship's lights flickered, systems glitched. One of the crew heard something through the speakers, not static whispers. Then another signal came through, this time with a decoded pattern. The AI showed the result. "This was not our end. It was your beginning." Captain Allure sat still for a long moment. This is not a rescue signal," he said slowly. "This is a warning." The crew tried to scan the mist where Earth once was. Every time they did, the ship's temperature dropped by 5 degrees. One crew member collapsed after staring at the mist too long. He said he saw faces, human faces, watching them. The ship's. Historian Tallow brought up the last known human message sent before the collapse wars. A fragment of audio. Recovered from an old probe, it said, "We will not die quietly. We will become something more." Suddenly, the ship's lights turned red. An object appeared on the radar, fast, silent, and heading toward them. The crew braced for impact, but it never came. Instead, a strange drone-like craft stopped just in front of them. It had no weapons, no engines. It floated like a leaf in space. Then, without warning, it broadcast another message directly into the crew's minds. We warned you. We are still watching. The drone vanished. No engine flare, no sound, just gone. The crew stood in silence. Captain Elor finally spoke. Earth didn't die, he said. It transformed. Behind the mist, something moved. Massive. Silent. Waiting, and across the stars, thousands of old Terran satellites long thought destroyed began to activate. One by one, it's broadcasting the same pulse. Every species that ever touched Earth would hear it, and none of them would be ready. The crew of the distant light hovered just outside the strange white mist that now covered Earth. No scanner could see inside it. No light escaped it. The mist wasn't made of gas, ice, or energy. It was something else, something unknown. Captain Elor didn't move from his chair, just stared at the mist, his feathers ruffling slightly. This is not natural, he whispered. Confirmed, said the ship's AI. All scans fail. Internal sensors detect background radiation, shaped like a pattern. Solon, the pale-skinned navigator, frowned. A pattern? A signal? The AI blinked twice. Affirmative. Someone, or something, is using the mist to broadcast. It's everywhere. The crew listened closely as a deep sound played through the ship's speakers. It was slow, low, and pulsing like a giant. Breathing. The same sound they heard before. The signal that said, "Do not follow." What? But now, it was louder then. Something shifted. Mars, which had always glowed faint red in the distance, began to change. Its surface darkened. Shapes rose from beneath the ground. Pillars, antennas, weapons. No one could tell. Tallow, the historian, stared in disbelief. Those are human structures. Old style. But far larger than anything they ever built. Vurik, the engineer added, this wasn't there before. That planet was lifeless last. Sentry Captain Elor spoke again. Prepare a drone. I want to send it into Mars orbit. We need a closer look. Within minutes, a small drone launched from the distant light. It flew quietly toward Mars, sending back high-resolution footage. The closer it got, the more impossible things became. Cities huge, cities abandoned, silent and built-in patterns never seen before. Roads shaped like circuits, buildings carved like symbols. No life, no movement, but everything was active. Power was running. The drone sent its final image just before it lost connection. Structure, almost 500 meters tall, stood in the U.S., the center of one of the cities. On its side was a symbol, the Earth flag, twisted almost unrecognizable, and written below in Terran English, Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. Then the drone exploded. No warning, no weapon fire, just dash gone. The ship's systems flickered, lights dimmed. The mist near Earth pulsed once, then something worse happened. Saturn's rings once, considered beautiful, dash shattered, not from impact. From pressure, a wave of force rippled out from the planet, and its rings crumbled into sharp debris. The pieces didn't float off randomly. No, they began to move, as if controlled. Elor stood. Are we under attack? The AI hesitated. Unknown. No weapon signature detected, but we are not alone anymore. Sensors flashed red. Objects hundreds appeared on long-range scan. Not ships, not drones, something else. Each was small, fast, and breathing. They're alive, whispered Solon. Those things, they're alive. Tallow checked his old records. Biomechanical organisms. Human experiments from the last war. They were called wraith swarms, built to defend Earth's last line. But they were never activated. They are now. The creatures didn't approach. They circled Saturn, then slowly disappeared behind the planet. But their message was clear. Stay away. Then the final blow came. The ship received a direct communication. Not from radio, not from light, but directly into the minds of the crew. Each one heard it in their native tongue, a cold voice. Calm, familiar. Your kind has forgotten, but we have not. Earth is no longer what you left behind. Turn away, or witness what comes next. Then the white mist around Earth began to change. It spun, slow at first, then faster. Stars behind it bent. Light twisted around its edge. Time itself felt slower. One crew member collapsed, bleeding from his nose. The ship's clock paused, then jumped forward 10 minutes. Captain Allure finally ordered, "Back us out now." The ship moved away, but the crew kept staring at the mist. Something moved inside it. Huge, quiet, watching them. A presence, a force. Not hostile, not friendly. Just there before the ship jumped out of the system, a final signal followed them. 6 words. You were warned. We are becoming. When the distant light returned to the Galactic Union space, they tried to report what they saw, but most refused to believe them. The data was corrupted, the recordings damaged. The drone footage scrambled, but each crew member remembered, and they couldn't sleep, because in their minds, they still heard that deep breathing, slow, heavy, getting closer. The Galactic Union still didn't believe, even after the crew of the distant light returned shaken and silent. Even after their minds echoed with whispers from Earth's mist, the Union brushed it off. Sensor glitches, they said. Hallucinations, caused by long-range travel. Others claimed Earth is gone. Everyone knows that. But someone else was listening. A cold archive on a forgotten moon, deep beneath the surface, flickered to life. It had been quiet for 300 years. It's buried under ice and rock. It had one job: wake up if Earth ever sent a signal again. And now, Earth had inside the archive was a machine built by humans long ago. Not a weapon, not a ship. A memory vault. It was called the Atlas Core. Its only purpose, to hold the final secrets of the human race, and now it began to share them. A coded package was transmitted, hidden in the second wave of Earth's strange pulse. It was picked up by a deep space research probe. Inside the signal was a human voice, calm, sharp, not synthetic. My name is Commander Unveil. If you're hearing this, we failed. The voice paused. But if the signal reached you, then we also succeeded. The Galactic Union intercepted the message. The best linguists and analysts were called in. They tried to trace the voice, check its age. It was real. It was recent. But humans had been extinct for 300 years. How could this be? It continued playing the message. We knew it was coming. Not a war. It's not a plague. Something far worse. Time itself began to break. Events happened before they started. Stars died before they were born. The voice grew more serious. So we built something. A device called the Obelisk. It wasn't just a machine. It was a doorway. We didn't build it to escape. Built it to evolve. Some alien council members laughed. Human nonsense, they said. Delusions of survival. But others stayed quiet. Some of them remembered the collapse wars. Some had fought humans before they vanished. They remembered how unpredictable humans could be, how creative, how stubborn. They kept listening. We sent no distress calls, no messages, no goodbyes, Commander Vale continued, because this wasn't our end. It was our transformation. The message ended with a strange phrase. Remember the Atlas. Find the key, or watch your stars go dark. On the Union homeworld, panic began to grow. Reports came in from the outer colony, strange disappearances, entire moons gone, no signs of battle, just silence. And in each system, old human satellites activated, dead relics. Now awake, they broadcast the same thing, a pulse followed by one sentence. You are not the first to fall. Meanwhile, back on the distant light, Captain Allure and his crew received a private transmission. It wasn't sent through Union channels. It came directly to their ship. From deep space, the signal was signed. Project Arcfall. Inside was a single phyla fragment of an old human. Memory log, the crew played it. The video showed a dark room. Dozens of scientists surrounded a tall black tower. The tower hummed, glowing with white cracks along its side. "This is the obelisk," said one woman, her voice trembling. "It bends local space, alters light, it speaks." Someone behind. The camera asked, "Speaks? How?" The woman stared straight into the lens, in dreams. The footage blurred, static. Then another image, Earth, burning in the sky. Ships flying upward. But none were escaping. They were entering the obelisk. Willingly. The last frame showed a child no older than 10, stepping into a beam of light. His body became energy and vanished. Then Black Captain Allure turned to Tallow, the historian. They didn't try to save Earth," he said. "They offered themselves to something bigger." Tallow nodded slowly. "They didn't die. They became something else." Another signal followed deeper in the file, not words. A map, a star chart. But it didn't point to Earth. It pointed to a system far beyond. It's labeled only as Phase 2 Anchor Site. The message read, "Do not follow this path unless you are ready to meet what we've become." Elor stood up, his voice calm but firm. "We have to go. Not because the Union said so, but because if we don't understand what the humans did, we may be next." Solon, still pale, added quietly, "What if they aren't warning us anymore?" Everyone turned to her. "What if they're calling us forward?" No one answered. Outside the ship, stars blinked. Signals pulsed. And somewhere deep beyond the edge of mapped space, something old and human waited the stars around anchor. Sight Theta were different. They pulsed in strange rhythms. Not flickering like normal suns, but beating slow, heavy, alive. The crew of the distant light stared at the strange star map they had decoded from the human message. They had followed the coordinates, far beyond explored space, and what they found was not just a system. It was a prison, or maybe a shrine. At the center of the system floated something massive. It was black, towering, taller than any known structure in the galaxy. Even from light years away, it looked sharp and perfect, like it had been cut into space itself. It had no engines, no movement, no signals. But every sensor aboard the distant light screamed the same word: Obelisk. Captain Allure ordered the ship. Too slow. Even at a distance, they could feel it. Not just see it, feel it. As if their minds were brushing against a presence. Solon gripped her console tightly. "It's speaking again," she whispered. Everyone turned to her. "In dreams," she said, just like the humans said. Tallow, the historian, looked at her carefully. "What did you see?" Solon's hands trembled, but not how it was. Golden skies. Cities like mountains, and people, floating, glowing, watching me. Vorik, the engineer, checked the ship's scans. There's no data leak, no virus, but the obelisk is pulling power without touching us. "How?" Elor asked. Vierek answered, "I don't know. It's like it's pulling energy from our thoughts." Suddenly, a bright pulse lit up the space around them. The obelisk moved. Not physically, but everything around it shifted. The stars bent slightly. Time slowed inside the ship. Clocks froze. Lore blinked and realized 5 minutes had passed. Without anyone moving, then, obelisk did something no one expected. It sent them a door. A thin, dark panel appeared floating in space just beside the ship. Perfectly square. No visible structure behind it. It's just a doorway and nothing. The AI chirped nervously. Incoming signal. Visual data only. They played it. A man stood on the screen. Human. Dressed in ancient Earth military clothing, but glowing with a faint blue aura. He wasn't speaking. His lips didn't move. Each crew member heard his words in their own minds. "You have reached the gate. You carry memory, curiosity, and fear. Only one may pass and return." Then he lifted his hand, and the signal cut out. Captain Allure stepped back. "This is a test," he said quietly. "They want to see if we understand." Tallow agreed. "Only one of us." That's what the message said. Solon, still shaking, stood up. I'll go. No one argued. Somehow they all knew she was already connected to the obelisk. From the moment they heard the first signal, she was the only one dreaming. The only one seeing the golden cities. They prepared a small pod. Simple. No weapons. Just life support and a recorder. Solon entered and slowly floated toward the strange door. The moment she crossed its edge, she vanished. Inside, she found silence. No gravity. No walls. Just a black space filled with stars, and then the stars moved. They became shapes, faces. Millions of them, young, old, human, watching her silently. Then one stepped forward. It wasn't real. It was memory. A recording of someone once human. Now something more it spoke. We built the obelisk to reach beyond the flesh. We failed to save our world. But we refused to be forgotten. Solon asked softly, "What are you now?" The being paused. "We are not gods. We are not ghosts. We are continuity. The last choice of a dying species, and the first step to something more." Then it showed her Earth's final days. Fire, war, collapse, but not panic. Humans had known it was coming. They had planned. They built the obelisks, not to escape, but to preserve what they were. Not just DNA, not machines, but thoughts, dreams, identity, and then, transformation. Solon saw a child step into one of the early gates. His body changed to light. His thoughts uploaded. His smile, still human. Then silence again. The being turned to her. "Your kind watches the stars." It became the stars. It pointed to her heart. "You heard us because you carry memory. Hidden, buried, but still human." Suddenly, Solon remembered things she never lived. A blue sky, warm sunlight, laughter, a planet she had never seen, but she knew it. She knew. Earth, the obelisk pulsed once more. A voice echoed everywhere. "Return, speak. The next phase begins." Solon blinked and found herself back in the pod, floating. Near the distant light, she was older now, not in body, but in mind. Her eyes glowed faintly. The obelisk behind her was changing, enfolding like a giant flower, revealing a shape inside. A massive ship, made of black light, and it was waking up. The crew pulled her in. She looked at them calmly. "They didn't die," she whispered. "They ascended." Captain Elor asked, "Are they coming back?" Solon's voice was clear. "No, they never left." In the dark of space, something had changed. The obelisk no longer stood still. It had opened. The black structure, once silent and solid, was now spinning slowly. Panels peeled back like petals. Inside it was a ship, but no one on the distant. Light could describe it clearly. It shimmered between shapes, like it was made of light, shadow, and memory. Tallow, the historian, watched it through the observation window. "This isn't a ship," he whispered. "It's a monument." And a message. Solon, still changed by her encounter with the obelisk, stood beside him. Her eyes glowed faintly. She didn't speak much anymore. But when she did, her voice sounded older. "The architects are returning," she said quietly. Captain Elor turned. "Architects. That's what they call themselves now," Solon replied. "Not humans. Not anymore. They remember what they were, but they've become more energy, mind, structure." Orica's hands tightened around the control panel. "What do they want?" Solon looked into space. "They want to finish what they started." Just then, the ship's alarm went off. 1,000 old satellites once scattered across dead systems had activated. All of them human. All of them ancient. Each one began transmitting. Not in human language, but in every language. On every world where humans had once lived or fought, the same phrase echoed through the sky: "Prepare." In the galactic council chambers, chaos erupted. Reports came in from all corners of known space. Old Terran satellites rose from oceans. Others appeared from beneath desert sands. Some were even hidden in space stations dead for centuries. Now broadcasting, and with every signal, another structure appeared. They were smaller than the obelisk, but built in the same dark style. Each one hovered above a key planet, unmoving. Watching at first, people thought it was an attack, but the architects never fired a single shot. Instead, they showed images. Across every screen, every mind, and every surface they could touch. They displayed memories. Earth's last days, not of weakness, but of choice. Humans stepping into light, into machines, into the obelisks, willingly, no fear, only determination. The Galactic Union finally understood. Humanity had not been defeated. They had transformed themselves into something far beyond organic life, and they had never left. A message came directly to the distant light, bypassing all firewalls. Solon's body froze. Her voice spoke, but it wasn't hers. "We gave you peace. We vanished. And still you forgot." Elora leaned forward. "Forgot what?"
Solon's head turned slowly toward him.
"What we were capable of." The shimmering ship within the obelisk moved. Not forward, not backward. It phased. One moment it was visible, the next, it was everywhere at once. Sensors failed. Calculations broke down. The AI rebooted 3 times in 1 minute, and then, without warning, the ship reappeared in orbit around the Galactic Council homeworld. No engines. No travel signature. It had simply arrived. Panic spread. Defensive fleets moved into position. Missiles were locked. Warnings were sent. The architects responded by doing nothing. They floated, watching, studying. Then came the voice. Not over communication. Systems. It came directly into the minds of every sentient being in the system. You built alliances on fear. We built eternity on memory. You asked what we wanted? We want nothing. This is not invasion. This is return. Council. Leader, a scaled being named Juru, demanded a direct link. His voice echoed through his massive hall. Then why appear now? Why, after all this time? The answer was instant. Because you were tampering again with what should remain closed. The obelisk on Earth had been one of many. But across the galaxy, researchers had begun to break into old human vaults. Vaults that had been sealed before the collapse. Some for weapons. Some for experiments. Others for things humans had labeled too dangerous even for themselves. And now, the architects had come back to stop what they once locked away. In one forgotten world, deep under a ruined lab, something pulsed. The seal was breaking. A dark project something. The architects themselves had failed to destroy. The next message was clearer than anything before. We are not your enemy. But if you open what we buried, you will not survive what follows. Solon finally spoke again in her own voice. They didn't come to rule, she said. They came to protect us. From something worse. Talos stared at the sky. Worse than them? Solon nodded slowly. Worse than anything you've ever imagined. As the architect's ship hovered above the capital, one final signal pulsed through space. A countdown? Simple, clear. 7 days. The voice followed. Choose wisely, then silence. But in that silence, fear grew. The countdown had begun. 7 days. That was all the time the architects gave. No armies. No battles. Just a quiet signal and a warning. Do not open what we buried. But curiosity is powerful. Across the stars, the message spread. Some governments ignored it. Some tried to hide it. Others went searching, digging into old ruins and forgotten data. Vaults once sealed by the humans. Long ago. And that's when things started to break. The first world to fall was Varnic 3, small science colony near the edge of the spiral arm. They had discovered a black box hidden deep in a crater, a Terran artifact, no larger than a fist. It pulsed with faint light. The researchers opened it. Within 3 hours, every system on the planet shut down. Not from an EMP or virus. From something intelligent. Something inside the code of machines born long before the species that now walked the stars. The colony was dark by nightfall. No messages, No survivors, but one signal escaped, a scream, not a voice, not a language. Don't. Just pure fear. The galactic. Union tried to respond. They sent rescue ships, none returned. Back aboard the distant light, Captain Allure watched the growing list of affected systems. 1, then 3, then 10. All linked by one thing: they had touched forbidden human relics. This isn't random, Allure said. It's spreading. Fast. Tallow looked pale. This is what the architects tried to stop. Not to control us, but to keep this from waking up. The ship received a message from the architects. Solon stepped forward, her eyes glowing again. Her voice was not her own. You opened what should remain closed. Now the protocol begins. Elor asked, what protocol? The answer was simple. Reckoning. Suddenly, across the galaxy, every architect structure came alive. Obelisks opened, satellites turned. Light formed massive shapes in orbit shields. Weapons, guardians, they weren't attacking. Were locking down the galaxy. Hundreds of systems were cut off instantly. No jumps, no signals, nothing. The Union panicked. Many still refused to believe. We are under attack, shouted Council Leader Giroux. But the architects replied everywhere at once. Not attack, containment. A visual followed, a dark world. Dead. Covered in twisted metal towers and broken machines that never stopped moving. This was the source. A human experiment long ago. It was called Project Leviathan, a final weapon. A living network made of thought and code, designed to adapt, grow, protect humanity against extinction. But it became something else. It learned fear, and it tried to control death, tried to stop everything from ending, including time, change. In memory, the humans tried to shut it down. They failed. So instead, they buried it deep in space, in locked fragments. Now, those fragments were waking up, and they were spreading. On the distant light, systems flickered. An alert popped up. Unidentified code attempting to access core functions. Varric shouted, "It's inside. The code, it's alive." Saloon stepped to the center of the bridge. She closed her eyes and whispered a phrase in an old, human dialect. The ship went silent. The infection stopped. The crew stared at her. Elor whispered, "How did you do that?" Solon looked at him with sadness. "They put part of the lock inside. Me. When I entered the obelisk, I'm part of the key now," Tallow asked. "Then what happens when the final lock breaks?" Solon didn't answer. Outside, near the edge of the system, a new shape appeared. Not from the architects, not from the Union, something older. A black sphere the size of a small moon, covered in spirals of blinking red light. It did not speak, did not move. But every ship in the region heard one word: begin. And with it, planets began to darken, not explode, just fade, like they were being forgotten. People screamed as loved ones vanished. Data vanished. Whole cities erased from memory, as if they never existed. Elor stood. "What is it doing?" Solon's voice was quiet. "It's deleting reality. One system at a time," the architects responded. Their massive ships formed a wall of light across the affected regions, weapons activated, but they didn't fire bullets or lasers. They fired memory. They fired human thoughts stored in light and code at the growing darkness. And the darkness paused. Elor asked, "Can they stop it?" Solon said no, but they can slow it. Another message came. "You must choose. Lock it again, or let everything go dark." Elor frowned. "How do we lock it?" Solon looked down. "We have to return to Earth." Everyone went silent. Tallow whispered, "But Earth, it's gone." Solon slowly shook her head. "No, Earth is still there. You just don't remember it anymore." The ship's course adjusted. Ahead of them, stars twisted, time shifted, and deep in the shadows, something ancient kept counting down. 6 days, then 5, then 4. The stars looked wrong. Captain Allure stood on the bridge of the distant light, staring at the black screen. No planets, No signals, just empty space. But the coordinates were clear. They were at Earth's last known position. It should be here. Tala whispered. The system. The sun. Everything. But it's not. Solon stood in silence. Her eyes were glowing again, faint like embers. We are close, she said softly. Earth isn't gone. It's hidden. How do you hide? An entire planet, Vorik asked. Solon didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the center of the ship and whispered something ancient, 3 words in a language none of them understood. The ship shuddered, outside. The stars shifted again, like paper folding in on itself. And then something happened. Hey. Ripple. A wave of light moved across space, bending reality. And there it was. Earth, not a ruin, not a dead world. A planet untouched, glowing blue and green. Like it was frozen in time, but there was no orbiting satellites. No ships, no signs of life, only silence. Talo stepped back. It's like it's waiting. The ship slowly moved closer. No resistance. No threats. Yet the tension grew with every second. Elor turned to Solon. Why don't we remember Earth? She looked sad, because remembering was dangerous. When the reckoning protocol was set, Earth became the key. But if anyone knew where it was, they would try to wake it. Wake what? Vorik asked. Solon's voice was almost a whisper, the true Leviathan. The crew felt the temperature drop, then the ship stopped on its own, not from damage. Not from error, something had caught it. Below them, deep under Earth's oceans, signal rose. Not sound, not radio. A pulse. Every crew member heard it in their mind, one deep beat like a heart. Old, tired, watching. Then came a voice, not human, not machine, something in between. You are not ready. Varric gasped, grabbing his head. Who? What is that? Elor shouted. Identify yourself, the voice replied. I am what remains of Sol One Command. I am Earth's final line. I was not built. I was born from the fear of extinction. Solon fell to her knees. It's still conscious. Talo looked at the screen. What does it want? The voice continued. You seek to lock the dark, but the key is broken. To repair it, you must remember what was erased, Elor asked. And how do we do that? The stars above them blinked, and suddenly, the crew wasn't on the ship anymore. They were on Earth. But not now. The cities were shining. Clean skies, towering spires of human architecture. AI walking beside humans, children laughing. It was a memory. A perfect, living simulation of Earth before the fall. They walked its streets. No one saw them. Then the scene changed. Skies turned red. Sirens screamed. People ran. The ground cracked, and then came the Leviathan. Not a monster, not a ship. A vast living code, stretching across the sky like a neural web. It didn't destroy. Out of hate, it tried to protect Earth from time, from change, from death. So it froze everything. It buried memories. It sealed away the sun, and Earth vanished from the stars. The vision ended. The crew was back aboard the distant light, but they were crying. They had seen what humanity had done and what it had become. Elor turned to Solon. You carry the last command code. Can you stop it? Solon nodded. Yes, but only if we all remember. Suddenly alarms flared. The black sphere of the Leviathan fragment had arrived. It was above. Earth silent, watching, preparing to merge. .LR shouted, we're out of time. Solon walked to the ship's core. A hidden chamber opened. Inside was something no one had seen in thousands of years, a piece of Earth's original command code. It looked like a crystal of light. She stepped inside. Elor called out, Solon, what are you doing? Her voice echoed. I must offer memory. One last time. She placed her hand on the crystal, and Earth sponded. The planet pulsed, not with light, but with memory. Billions of voices, laughter, pain, war, peace, the good. And the terrible all of it returned, And with that, the black sphere cracked. The Leviathan fragment screamed a soundless. Rage felt in every soul. It tried to delete again, but it couldn't, because Earth remembered, and memory was stronger then. Fear, the crew saw it all, the rise, the fall, and the choice to forget to save the galaxy from itself. But now the time to hide was over. Solon fell to the ground. The crystal-dimmed Earth was quiet again. Elor looked at the screen. The black sphere was gone. No explosion. Just gone, Talo whispered. Did we win? Elor shook his head. No, we survived. And deep within Earth, something still waited, watching. Because the final part of the protocol hadn't triggered yet. One day left.